One of the most important end product of each and every consulting project are slides. In this movie, I will show you examples of different types of slides. So when you look at the typical presentation, you might find process slides, some slides comparing some options, a bubble chart, maybe some sort of agenda, timeline, and project structure. Here, obviously, we're not able to discuss all of them because there are plenty of them. So I'll just concentrate on 5 types. So I will show you in the next part of the movie process slides, how to compare 2 data sets, how to show the team project roles, how you can create summary slides, especially when we are talking about templates, and examples of issue tree slides. For more examples and also the PowerPoint versions of what I'm showing here, you can go and check my online course, which is called Management Consulting Presentation. In the description of the movie, you will find a link with hefty discounts. And moreover, please subscribe also to my YouTube channel. So enjoy the 5 examples of typical slides you can find in the management consulting projects. Process slides. So in consulting, you will be showing a lot of things connected with the processes. So either you're going to be criticizing a specific process, or you would like to explain them specific process, how it looks like and what kind of involvement it will require from them. Therefore, you're going to be putting a lot of process slides in your presentation. Here, I'm going to show you a few examples of such process slides. Let's start with the first example. So this is an example of a turnaround project, which consists of 3 phases. So operational and commercial due diligence, first 100 days successful takeover control, and then restructuring interim management. I show here the duration in weeks for all stages, and then I show them our approach, so how we would approach specific stuff and what kind of activities we would be doing in each and every phase. So they know roughly what's gonna happen to them, what is the framework we're gonna use, and how long it will take, and obviously what is our approach. A very similar example is here. This is an example put in an offer, and here I was showing what kind of process optimization we're going to do to one of the customers. This was about processes in the store, and it was a retailer. So I told them basically that we're going to have 5 phases. So first we're going to do the observation and initial analysis. Then we're going to gather data, optimize processes in one store, modify the process for others, and then implement it in the whole chain. And again, as previously, description, what will happen in each and every phase here. And here, instead of the approach, we just put who is going to do what. So this, for example, stage is going to be done by us and by them to some extent, but this will be done by them. And the same goes for the last stage. And obviously, the message, you put it here as well. And first example is actually from this presentation. So sometimes you want to animate. Sometimes you need to basically put the process stage by stage and to animate it. So for this, you cannot use smart charts I was showing you previously, but you can use let's say the framework we are using in this course. So for example, this is the process of creating the presentation. So creating a structure first, then writing down, etc., etc., etc. So as you can see, I'm showing stage by stage and how it goes, and I also some other information. But this you can do very nicely as a sort of a tracker or during a delivery of the presentation. If you were supposed to put it into a written form where it will live longer than the whole project and somebody will like to refer to this, you should use the 2 previous frameworks I've shown you, so with more description and more text. This you would use rather in the delivery of the presentation in order to avoid a situation where they would be just reading the text you put. Comparison of 2 data sets. In a consulting project, you'll be doing a lot of comparison of data sets. Usually you would stick to 2, maybe 3 data sets. I'll show you how to put it into slides and how you can present it. I'll use obviously examples from our practice, and I'll tell you roughly why we did it in such a way. So here you have a slide from our proposal where we were showing to the customer the options, how we can do the project with us. So the 2 first option we quoted, and then the third option, and we compared ourselves to the competitors. Here we did the comparison in terms of money. So how much the project would cost. So the most expensive option was 211,000, whereas the cheapest one was 50. And since time was important feature here, we also put down the similar comparison, but in weeks. So they can compare not only option to option when it comes to cost, but also in terms of time. The second shows you comparison of costs. We did cost optimization for one of our customers, and here we show that we went down in terms of cost of one execution from 292 to 107, and in total how much it means for the test store we looked for, and here also how much it would be in terms of savings for the whole retail chain. So as you can see, we used exactly the same type of chart. And again, we did a comparison in one dimension here and a little bit different dimension here. Here we actually compare two things. So this is from a retailer that wanted to compare the so-called engagement rate by department. So we do here two things. We compare department to department, so A to B, B to C, D, E, F, etc. But we also compare what we were getting during the working week and during the weekends. So you actually have here a message in which we say which department is better and whether the difference between the weekends and the regular week are any different. So this is the way in which you can put a comparison of two data sets but over a bigger number of dimensions. So here we've got actually dimension in terms of departments, so we show the division by them, but also in time, so weekend versus the rest of the week. And similar example, again from very same retailer. Here we compare the sales and we show the sales in two ways. In totals here, but also what percentage of the total sale specific department generates. So this is 80,000 and it generates 20% of the sale. This we did in order to avoid situation where somebody, one of the audience members, is more attached to thousands and the others are thinking in terms of percentages. So this is just to avoid a discussion. We wanted to have both things here on the slide. Team project roles. Apart from describing the structure of the project, you have to describe to the people what they are supposed to do on the project. So you need this sort of slides where you describe to the team what they are supposed to do. So for this, we use the following slides. So obviously you can be merging the project structure slide with the roles like it was shown previously, but quite often you just do it on a separate slide like here, where we've got described the role of each and every body. So project sponsor, what he does is he's participating in the steering committee, supervising the project on behalf of the company, selecting solutions, supporting the implementation, etc., etc., etc. So everybody has his exact description of what he's supposed to be, what is his role, so he can execute it without getting into fight with the rest of the people. In this way, people exactly know what they're supposed to do. Next thing is sometimes you have to basically be more specific, and on top of that, the role of specific people may change during to the phase of the project. And then if such a situation occurs, you should use some sort of a slide like this. So here we've got the body, so the company B and us, the consulting company. And then we've got the phases of the project. So we have data, analysis and workshops, and conclusions and recommendations. And here we describe exactly what each and every party is supposed to do on a specific phase. So company B in a data phase gathers data, but later on carries out analysis, participate in the workshops, draw conclusions. So in this way, you also show them what will be the flow of their tasks depending on the phase in which they are. So here, you not only show them what kind of role they have to play, but also you show them the phases of the project and how their role will change during the project. Consulting is all about conclusions and next steps. So you'll be putting a lot of the so-called summary slides where you'll try to summarize the knowledge you've gathered and all the conclusions you suggest the customer to implement. So I'll show you a few of them. Obviously, there are plenty of them you can create. The one I show you here should provide you sufficient food for thought and inspiration for whatever you're trying to convey in terms of summary. So the first one is an example from a project where we were supposed to go over many countries in Eastern Europe and we had to create strategy for them. So for this, in order to happen, we needed this sort of an overview of the country slide where we put the general info. So I think about general info on the country like population, currency, exchange rate, then GDP growth, inflation. Here, the country, how it looks like, where the major city and the size of major city. Then this is another interesting slide. It is from a performance improvement project and it was all about showing what kind of savings you can generate. And in order to introduce them into the performance improvement, we needed a slide to show them what the employees devote their time to. So this is showing what specific sales rep in a shop is doing. So for example, 31% of the time he's advising, 29% he's replenishing the shelf, and so on and so forth. This sort of slides you can also use, obviously, to, for example, show the savings. Now, here we've got a summary of experience of a team of consultants. So we show specific roles and then what kind of positions they were taking, what kind of education they have, what kind of languages they speak. Obviously, you can also summarize your experience in a nice manner like here. So we've got the logo, locations where the specific project was performed, then headcount of company, revenue, and other data necessary. Then we've got how many consultants were there, what was the duration of the project, and the influence. So in this way, I summarize the whole data about different projects. As you can see, you always have to come up with some sort of framework in which you want to summarize data. So here we decided to show this sort of data for different projects. Once you've got the framework, you do the template, and then the rest is just finding the data and putting them in. And sometimes you might be using well-known concepts in order to summarize conclusions from the project. So here we are using Canva model to summarize business model of specific idea. This is for the self-driving car. So this is the empty. So majority of the people in business will know it. And then we just put things to fill in and to show what we have decided on in a specific area of the Canva model. Obviously, you can also use this as a tracker in the whole project and go into more details. And another sort of a summary is like this. So for example, we proposed a lot of projects to the company, and then they wanted to see whether they make sense or not. So they wanted to have a one picture of all projects on one page. So we did a competition level for specific project and then potential, and we tried to put each and every project on the map. And obviously we also added some additional information. So this is, for example, the red color means that the specific project is related to the business, and this means that the business can help you compete with Amazon. So in this sort of summaries, you're showing them what are the options, and obviously against those two criteria. And here we have a summary of IKEA case. So we just list the major findings about this business model. And this was done for the customer who wanted to have an overview of specific business models of different company. So we went into details on each and every of these aspects, but then he wanted just to have a summary. So we did this sort of summaries for him on many models. At the beginning of the project, both internally and externally, you sometimes have to show the structure of the product and what influences what. So for this, you might be using the so-called issue tree slides. I'm going to show you how the general looks like and one example so you know how you can put it into more details. So we've got the issue tree, the general, where we first define the area of analysis. Then we put the suspected problems, possible reasons for this problem to exist, and obviously analysis we're going to perform, or the customer has to perform in order to prove them those reasons right or wrong, and then obviously the existence of this problem. So here is an example of issue tree for a chicken meat producer, and we are just talking about the area of transport. So we said that high cost of transport per ton might be one of the problems, big level of waste and breakage in transport, and low usage of resources. And for every problem, we define the reasons. So for example, for the first one, so high cost of transport per ton of goods, we have badly designed routes, too big fuel usage, and no shipments on the way back. And we do exactly the same for the next reasons, and obviously we define the analysis. So as you can see, I showed them in a structured way why I'm doing something and how I come to the conclusions. So we do it both for managing our internal team, so we know why we do something and what we should prioritize, but also for the customer, so he knows why I need certain data and certain analysis and what does it lead us to. So use this sort of slides in order to present them also the logic behind finding certain things, coming to some conclusions, and also convincing them that it makes sense to do it. That's it for the time being. For more, check my online course and subscribe to the channel.